This is the Swino Creative Podcast. I'll be your host, professional photographer and video content creator, Brian Swino. In this podcast, we will discuss all parts of business, marketing, mindset, creativity, and self-improvement. Sometimes with the help of a special guest to provide some incredible outside perspective. Okay, so this is like a full circle thing for me.
Okay.
One of the things about you and for the people listening is you were my very first person to ever reach out to me and be like, hey, I see what you're doing. Would you like to do that for me?
Yeah. Yep.
So like, and I've done everything word of mouth still for 5.5 years. So like I literally can trace everything that I've ever done back to like the tree root of you and like doing stuff like that. So I just wanted to say thank you from the start of like being that. I don't know what path it would have taken, but it wouldn't have been the same path as it was.
Yeah, you would have took off either way.
Yeah.
Either way, but it was a start.
I think of it as like the Wild West of like whenever I was doing videos.
Yeah.
Like whatever I could think of, we tried it, and some of it worked, some of it didn't work. But that was like almost one of the most fun times I ever had of making videos, because it was like we're just trying stuff.
Right. Yeah. One of those videos was promoting my Smith machine home gym. You know, I still use it to this day, and I think it has. Last I checked, it had over 50,000 views. It's probably got 60, 70,000 by now.
You still have the sponsorship?
I guess not. They stopped paying me. I don't know. Probably a year ago. I stopped getting, checks in the mail.
They probably had some sort of a time limit.
I thought about emailing them because I don't know why that stopped. Maybe I should just get a new link or something, or maybe they quit that program. It was called an affiliate with them is all it was called. But, sometimes I would make like $600 a month. Most time it was like 100. Yeah. Well, that affiliate link was actually still active and, during COVID. And that's when I started making, wasn't awesome money, but I was like getting $600 checks a month. And I'm like, what is this? And I was like, oh, everyone's stuck at home. Yeah. And they're wanting to know what home gym to get. And I guess they fell on our YouTube link, and then they would click that, and automatically it would give me the credit when they bought it. And
that's where you can, like, affiliate marketing is like one of the best things you can possibly do for a business, like especially the businesses that have the funds to do affiliate marketing. Yep. Like Gymshark.
I don't know Gymshark.
Like the sports clothing brand.
Oh, the Shark Fitness clothing. Yeah.
Like the dude was 20 years old or 18, something like that. And he started just sewing clothing at his mom's kitchen.
Yeah, Gymshark.
And now it's like $4 billion company. And like it's just crazy. But they just sent to all the fitness influencers. They just started sending clothes out to them. Yep. He had the foresight to see, and it wasn't even a thing back then.
Yeah, just super fitted clothing. It was. I don't know if it was cheap. It wasn't, but yeah, it was.
It's not now.
Yeah, it's not now. But it was just people, certain Instagram people. Yeah. Sponsoring it. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's tell everyone who might not know who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive into your backstory of what got you to here.
Okay. Drew Bishop, and I was born and raised in Lebanon, Missouri, and currently work for Lebanon R3 School District. Super happy. I've never been happier with a job in my life than working for them. And I work in the IT department. I would call myself our data admin. Yeah. Basically, I work with school data. There's a lot of data that goes into a school district, and at the forefront of that. On the side, I still do fitness, not to make money, really. I mean, a little bit, but I, professional arm wrestler, and used to be, as you know, bodybuilder, and before that I was just a weightlifter, powerlifter. Yeah. Got 2 kids, wife, and super happy, man. And I'm coming in a rough patch as far as fitness goes right now, but
we'll get into that.
Yeah, but that's me in a nutshell.
What got you into fitness? Like, what was the spark that went off whenever you were teenage years and you're like, I can lift some weights?
That is I'll explain it, but there's a lot of pieces there. Me and my cousin Nathan were the youngest out of, the cousins in the family. And so we got picked on by our older brothers and our older cousins. Yeah. And that was probably the spark of it when I was a kid. It was wanting to be, as a kid, it's simple thinking. If I was just stronger than them, they wouldn't mess with me. So that never, I guess, left my brain. I got picked on in middle school too. I was an 8th grader and I was getting picked on by 7th graders. Yeah. So that sparked that fire. Not only that, but I was naturally always really strong for my size, like my whole life. My cousin I just mentioned, we were the same size, same age or month apart. And he was always, I felt like, good at everything. He was better at basketball than me as a kid. The one thing I was always better than him at was anything that had to do with strength. Yeah. And I remember in 6th grade, in class, we would arm wrestle, and I would always beat everybody, no matter how big they were. So lots of little factors that wove in there. And I remember my mom, she was a single mom growing up, and she didn't date anyone until pretty much after I was married. Yeah. Ever. But any time she ever mentioned anything about, like a man or something, like it was always like these fit guys. And I noticed that she was like, oh, Yeah. And so I guess that stuck with me a little bit too. Like, oh, my mom thinks fitness is, attractive. So it kind of, wove into me. Like I needed that's one way to be attractive is be fit. So there's a lot of factors, but I think getting picked on was the main factor. And I'm a competitive, and so
I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, I wanted to latch on to something I could be good at. Yeah.
How did that lead into the high school years of like literally leaning into your strengths? You were the strong guy. So what was it about it that made you take that to a competitive level or get into bodybuilding?
So my whole life I played basketball. My whole life as a kid, and I was super competitive with that. I wanted to be the best basketball player there was, and I just wasn't. I was pretty good, played on the 7th grade team, 8th grade team, 9th grade. I was on a traveling team before that. Yeah. Played 9th grade basketball, and I finally gave up. I'm short. I was never going to be, all state. I was just okay, and I was, as I just said, I was extreme competitive. I would put me on that top tier of competitiveness, and and when I decided I was going to switch out of basketball, 9th grade, I decided to go full into weightlifting. But before that, in the 8th grade, summer of 8th grade, I started weightlifting, and I couldn't drive. So I would ride my bike to the Civic Center, which is, I don't know, it's 3 or 4 miles every morning. That was a weekday, and I would use their gym. At the time, it was free, and it was upstairs at the Lebanon Civic Center, and it was a little room. And my friends would a lot of times come with me, but we'd all ride our bikes. So I'd been weightlifting since 8th grade, and then when I quit basketball in 9th grade, I just pursued it full time, and I can honestly say I've not taken more than, 14 to 21 days off of anything weightlifting since I was 14. I'm 32, so it's 18 years I've not taken more than 2 or 3 weeks off of not doing anything. I've always been in the gym.
Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I don't scientifically, I don't know if it's good not to take long breaks, or I don't know, but I know for my mind it seems to be a good thing because it's kind of an addiction, you know. I think it can be a healthy or not healthy addiction, but I think it's served me pretty well.
As of right now in the story, you're strength based, right?
Right. Weightlifter.
So you're powerlifting, doing all
high
that,
school.
Seeing some success. Where does bodybuilding come in?
Before that, in high school, when I started weightlifting, we had the Iron Jacket, and I think I need to start there. I still do it. It's a power liftathon at the, I think you remember that, where you do your best bench press, your best power clean, your best squat, and you divide it by your weight, and you get a power ratio.
Yeah.
And whoever has the best power ratio at the end of the year at the big event that they hold at the high school wins the Iron Jacket of the year. And that was my first big goal in life, like once I quit basketball. I won it my senior year, and so 3 years in the making. And that was my first, like I said, my first goal in life that I'd hit, and I got kind of what I'm kind of a recognition chaser in some regards.
Yeah.
I finally got that recognition from the people that mattered to me, like, oh, you won that award. You're the best in the school at it. And in fact, that power ratio that I set my senior year, winning that award, stood there for 12 years. It just got beat by I can't remember the kid's name now, but I can think of it. I follow him on Instagram, but that meant a lot to me. And then I did that for a few years after high school. I did what we call powerlifting, and I had success in that. But
you compete in it?
Oh yeah. I won national titles in it in Oklahoma, and St. Louis had nationals 1 year, so I won 2 national titles in that. And there's a lot of different organizations, so it's not like, like Alabama when they win the national title in football, like it's the national title.
Yeah.
It depends on what organization you went with, but
no matter what, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that, loved it, but powerlifting was it's got a roof, and you hit it real quick, which basically is, you might get a little stronger from where you're at now, but no one cares unless you're breaking world records and you're like, this huge guy that's so I fell out of interest with it because I felt like there was nowhere else to go. I mean, I could have kept on doing it and tried to beat a few other people maybe, I don't know, but so that turned me to bodybuilding because I was at the time working out at Total Fitness in Lebanon. That was on Commercial Street, across from where like the CO building for Lebanon Schools is now. And it was the best gym in town at the time. That was before Tim Cole or anyone like that. And Adam Lockwood ran it, and he would see me in there training for that Iron Jacket that I'd won. Well, he got into powerlifting with me, even though he knew nothing about it. He was a bodybuilder, and we did that together. And then he had always told me, you need to bodybuild. You need to bodybuild. You'd be amazing at it. Just try it. So once I gave up powerlifting and realized there was nowhere fun to go, bodybuilding was a whole different animal that I started. A different style of weightlifting. It was all about, how you look and how you looked on stage. And I really enjoyed it. I did it for 5 years, I think. And I won state titles.
When was that started?
When did I start it? I think 2013 was my first time. And I did the Springfield, Missouri show. And I think I got 5th. And I got 5th place. And then I stopped doing it in 2018. But I finally won that show in Springfield, a couple years later. And I think we documented that whole path. And then I tried a national show in Vegas once, and I got 14th or something. Yeah. And I could have got placed a little better in that if I'd done some things different, but that's when I stopped because to try to get to the next level was a lot too much to sacrifice. Yeah. So it was family, time, and happiness were all gonna, all family time and happiness were gonna take a dive if I went further. That's why I stopped bodybuilding.
And you got married.
I got married.
We started with the children, all that stuff. So you got a lot more to sacrifice in that regard. Yeah,
because bodybuilding is all the time, and I'm a big food guy, so it was really hard for me because I was eating bland food. all the time. What I would consider bland food.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was my wife and I did it together. I got her into it, and she was a natural. She was amazing at it. She could have been better than me at it if she had kept going. Mm-hmm. She had a higher ceiling than I did in bodybuilding, in my opinion.
It seemed like from the outside that she just picked it up, and it was like within a year, it was like,
she's
what?
Yeah. And a lot of times I'm like, well, maybe it's because she's so, she's not very tall. She's 4'10", but I've seen, since then I've seen other shorter girls get into the gym and they don't transform like that. Yeah. So it wasn't the only factor. It's like, I think it was a perfect storm. She wasn't very tall, which does help, but then she just had really good genetics, and
she also had you pushing her too.
Yeah, and she had someone right from she had gotten in. She was starting to get into weightlifting when we met, so it's not like she got into weightlifting because of me, and she would really appreciate me saying that, because she hates when people think she got with me and that's why she did it. She was already we met through, I was tutoring math for. I offered to tutor in math, because she came into the Verizon, and we started talking, and she was struggling with college math, and I was like, hey, I tutor math. I'll tutor you for free, because, I was attracted to her. So,
classic, picking up the tutor.
Yeah, through my job at Verizon at that time. Anyway, and then she was already hitting the gym, so obviously she knew that I was kind of an expert in that. So I started showing her. At first we clashed a little bit. She wanted to she just wanted to build a butt and no legs. I remember that was the first argument we ever had. And we still talk about it, but I was like, no, you got to build both. You can't, it's possible to maybe build one and not the other, but it's going to look kind of weird, and you're just going to spin your wheels. So that was our first fight, and it was a fight. But now I make fun of her for it, because she totally agrees with me. Yeah. She's like, I was dumb for thinking that I just wanted to build my butt and not build my legs at all. I'm like, for what they complement each other, you got to build them both. Yeah. So, stopped doing that in 2018 or 2019. I think 2018 to arm wrestle, because it was a lot. Like I said, I hit that point in the road where it was.
How did arm wrestling come about? Like, this is where our story was. I came in those 2 years, the last 2 years you were doing it. Yep. You might have done it the year after, maybe. But I documented those 2 years of you doing those competitions.
And that's when I stopped.
And that's when you won. And then how did arm wrestling come in?
Because I knew I've been looking at it for a little bit. There's a local competition here in town that they hold on St. Patrick's Day at Alfred's Pub.
Oh, yeah.
And during my bodybuilding years, so during the time me and you were working together, one night I just saw it on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm going to go try that. And I won the whole thing. And it wasn't a very big tournament. It was a little Lebanon tournament. Yeah. So, I thought my chances would be good because I was always good at it as a kid.
Yeah.
I was a bodybuilder now, so what the heck? And I tried it, and there was no experienced arm wrestlers at that tournament, so it was just a bunch of inexperienced people. And I'd won first place, and I kind of put it in the back of my head because I knew that was a thing. You could go do that around the country. And when I finally decided bodybuilding was no more, I decided to pursue that. And what was so enticing about it, other than I enjoyed it, was that I didn't have to eat a certain regimen. I didn't have to, make sure I was asleep at a certain time, wake up early for this cardio or that. And it was so much more family appealing. You could be an awesome dad and a good arm wrestler at the same time. I'm not saying you can't as a bodybuilder, but it's much harder. You can eat with your kids and your wife, and you don't have to sit there and worry about it. Yeah. So that was the transition. And
was that a hard realization?
No. After I went to Vegas and placed 14th in that big show, that national show, I was at ease with it, because I knew I guess when I'm a realist, it just, and I had something else to do that was, very appealing, which for me was arm wrestling.
Yeah.
it was so easy to give up. Like, because I knew I was never gonna. I knew I wasn't gonna stop weightlifting. So it's not like I was just gonna completely change my life. It was just wasn't gonna do that anymore. I wasn't gonna try to, look aesthetically pleasing as possible anymore. Which I think by the time Vegas happened, I was getting burnt out on it. I still think about trying to do it again, but probably I might. But it was really easy for me to drop.
Yeah. How quickly was it like the light bulb went off for arm wrestling? You did that amateur, like it's just basically St. Patrick's Day fun.
Yeah.
At that thing. So, and Jen also went up there and won, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jen won the ladies tournament that night. Yeah.
So
I entered her in it without her asking her, and she was really mad when they called her name.
She has to do it at that point.
Yeah.
But how quickly was that, like the turnaround, like, oh, I can actually do this, and I'm going to go for this now?
I mean, it was like, I don't remember vividly, but I think it was like the next day I was in the gym, and I did not know how to train for that, so I was doing everything wrong. But I was already looking at tournaments to go to, and I loved it, enjoyed it, and started doing amateur tournaments in St. Louis and Kansas City, and my very first amateur tournament in St. Louis. So my first real tournament is what I would call it. I won, so I knew I had something to do.
Yeah,
and that was 4 years ago. Here I am.
How has that progression been? So far?
Really good. I within 2 years I was a high level pro, and I surprised the arm wrestling community. Kind of a small community, I would say. I don't know. I wouldn't want to guess, but there's 10 to 20,000 maybe arm wrestlers, that compete, which is a lot more than people think. It's just a small community, and I was, I started seeing people talk about me on Facebook, like, what do you think this guy, Bishop faced this guy, who would win, and so that was awesome to see, because people that were, recognized as analysts of that sport were already seeing me and wondering how this would go, how that would go. And then I was getting invites to super match, which super matches are when, like a promoter would be like, hey, I want you to come arm wrestle this guy 5 times, 5 rounds, best of 5. You want to bet money if you can. If you want to bet, you can. I usually don't, but come prove yourself. And if you beat him, you can take his rank, nationally. I was doing that stuff, by year 2 or 3.
So is that sort of like a headliner for musicians, essentially? Like you're like the featured bout?
Yes.
Kind of?
Yeah. At a tournament, though, a lot of times the super matches will be like you said, the headliner.
Yeah.
The tournament's there, but then it's like come to this tournament because you're going to get to see, Drew Bishop face off against David Hodson.
Yeah.
One-on-one, and people are like, oh, I'd like to see that, and I know both of those guys, and I don't know who would win.
Yeah.
Let's go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar at all with the arm wrestling world, so that has been like fascinating to watch, like that journey. I would describe you as an ultra competitive person,
right?
Which is a really good thing. It's something I've always looked up to of you, and how you can transition from the powerlifting into the bodybuilding. And then as soon as you reach that peak, you're like, okay, what's the next challenge?
Right.
Like you're always looking for the next challenge that you can do.
Right.
And right now, we kind of talked off camera about this, but you got into the arm wrestling world and you saw a little hole, something you might be able to fill with that IT background.
Right.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I noticed at tournaments that running them was not the easiest. The reason it's not easy to run an arm wrestling tournament is it's kind of like wrestling, high school wrestling. Maybe even a little more complicated though, because you have all these weight classes, even age divisions, women's, all these different classes and groups. And then you got right hand, left hand, amateur and pro. So and you're doing a bunch of brackets on one day, like 40 or 50 brackets. And you have to do this in 3 or 4 hours at the most, hopefully 6 hours. You got to get through all these brackets of maybe 10 competitors or 18 competitors in a bracket, or up to 60 some, that's a big one. But and so a lot of these tournaments, they were doing that on paper. They were writing down all the entries on a bracket. It would take them an hour, maybe longer, to get all the brackets written out on paper, and then to start the tournament. Run 2 or 3 tables at a time. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I think the worst part about a tournament is the wait, waiting for them to get all that going, and you're sitting there and you're kind of cold, and you're getting cold, and you're trying to warm up, and then never mind, I'm not going for another hour. I wanted a streamlined approach, and there was a program out there that they had used, and it's an Excel program, but I didn't think it was that, it wasn't what I envisioned as being, quick, easy. So I was like, we could build an app, that runs this. You just enter the data, what classes they're doing, how old they are, how much they weigh, and then hit go, and it does all that paper entry for you, digitally. And, like you said, an IT background, so I designed it. I couldn't do all of it, so I hired a company. I'm very happy with them. And within 2 or 3 months, I had it, and it's called armbracket.com. It's up and running now, and the cool thing about it is you can go, it archives it all, so you can just hit, I made it super simple. As soon as you go to armbracket.com, you have live tournaments. Then you have a link for live tournaments. You have a link for past tournaments. You click the link for past tournaments, and you can go to see any tournament that Arm Brackets ran and the results. And if you don't remember who won that tournament or who beat who early on in the bracket, it's all right there. And then if you click live tournaments, if there's any tournaments going on, that day, you can click it and you can see the brackets, and they're just live updated as they go.
What's the benefit of using your armbracket.com versus the old school way or the other Excel way?
Speed, and then being able to, as a competitor or as a family member or as a spectator, you can get on your phone, go to armbracket.com. So let's say you're not at the tournament. You know that your friend is competing in St. Louis, and you want to know how he's doing, and you're texting him, but he's not answering, and you can get on, armbracket.com. You can go live tournaments, click the tournament. If you know what weight class he's doing, click that weight class, and then you can see the bracket. Oh, he's won a match. Oh, he's lost 2. Oh, he just won, because it changed right in front of your eyes. It's live updated, and that's by far the biggest advantage.
So as a competitor, even at the event, you have an advantage because you automatically see that guy won, and now I won. So now we're going to go against each other. Yep.
You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to go up and ask the people that are running the tournament, and they're going to be mad if you do, because they got a job to do. Don't go ask them who you're going against next. That's not, that's kind of rude. Get on your own device and see the path you're wanting to go. I think most of the competitors that like it because of that, and they're always wanting to come up and ask, who am I going against? And when I run a tournament, I go, you go here, and you can find out for yourself and help yourself.
From a running the brackets approach, we've got the competitor side. From running the actual brackets, what is the benefit of doing it? And do they hire you to come do it, or could they purchase armbracket.com or like a affiliate sort of thing and then use your program to do it?
So it charges per tournament. It charges right now, I think I have it set to 50 cents an entry. So, if I enter 200 pounds right hand, 200 pounds left hand pro, that's 2 entries. So I'm a 2 entries there. So let's say your tournament has a total of 300 entries. If I charge 50 cents an entry, it's $150, and you can use it. So it's before you hit go and it generates all the brackets and stuff, it asks for payment. The benefit of Arm Bracket as someone that's running the brackets versus the other ways of doing it are the tables. So picture running a tournament, and let's say you're using paper, or you're using that Excel program I mentioned. You have to like look at a bracket and call someone up to the table. But you don't have tables on your paper. You just have brackets, and you just call people up, and you're trying to keep all that in line. Mm-hmm. With arm bracket, you don't even see the brackets if you're running the brackets. You just see the tables, and you just click you click what classes you want to funnel mm-hmm. into that table. What classes you want to funnel into that table. What classes you want to funnel into, let's say you have 3 tables, that table, and it just funnels them for you. And nice. So you don't ever see a bracket all day. You just see the tables in front of you, and you just call. And the nice thing is it tells you who's on deck, who's in the hole, who's on deck, who's in the hole on each table.
And you can make that announcement?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to look at a bracket all day. Like, think about it. If you were trying to look at a bracket and call on deck and in the hole, that's really hard. Yeah. It's not telling you, so you have to make it up on your mind on the fly.
And that's where, as a competitor, mm-hmm. you're sitting there warming up, and then you find out that it's not going to be another hour or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's why that happens. Mm-hmm. So your way gets rid of all the issues and just streamlines it for the competitor and the person running it.
Yes.
That seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. I just haven't marketed it yet. So people like it and use it, but not very many yet. But that's on my next.
We're going to fix that.
Yeah. The next thing for me to do is get that off the ground.
Yeah. That seems like I knew wherever you had the first original idea for it. I remember you messaging me about it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that seems like, I know nothing about arm wrestling or tournaments, but that seems like it would be stupid not to do it.
Right.
So I think that could go to the moon for you.
I hope so, because arm wrestling is taking off, man.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't know. You probably haven't seen it on YouTube, because YouTube algorithms kind of shovel what you are interested in front of you. But it's becoming big fast. Like, even in the 4 or 5 years that I've been doing it, the competitive scene's really grown. Yeah. So I think it's a good time. I think I built it at the right time. I just need to get it off the ground. And, there was some hiccups in the beginning when I started using it that I've already fixed. Things that I didn't see coming. You know how that works. You gotta try it before you can. Sometimes you can't see all the problems until you try it.
Well, then also you've had a little bit of time now before a whole bunch of people are using it. Mm-hmm. So you've worked out the kinks, and then if, say, it takes off, mm-hmm. like hopefully you want it, mm-hmm. every arm wrestling tournament in the nation can start using your app, and then you also get the benefits of monetarily, but also like what we were talking about of your striving to always find out the next challenge. Right. If you funneled your competitiveness into app building, I feel like you 100% would dominate.
Yeah, it'd be tough. It'd be weird trying to funnel that competitive drive into something that wasn't, I don't know, like a sport. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying I can't do it. I've never thought of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
think like that might be holding you back a little bit.
Right.
Especially like we talked about, you had a couple injuries. Mm-hmm. Like if you can't fuel that competitive through the actual arm wrestling, just pivot that. I feel like it would take off.
Like when I told you the bodybuilding and arm wrestling transition, it was easy. Well, now I'm like as I told you earlier off camera, I'm very hurt, like my right wrist, my right bicep, dealing with all these injuries. Yeah. So I feel like I'm at a standstill, and I don't know where to go, because I guess, like you said, I'm very competitive, and I have to be doing something competitive to stay happy. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it's just who I am. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm trying left-handed arm wrestling, and I'm not as good at that, and I'm not bad at it, but it's not like my right hand was. And so then I've been playing chess online, and I'm just not, as good at chess as I am at physically strength sports, and I've been trying to funnel my competitive drive, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and nothing sounds fun, and I'm not into CrossFit or any of that kind of stuff. And so I'm definitely like at that point right now. I'm like, I'm looking for something.
Yeah. I feel like if you, like, I know like using the physical aspect has always been the thing, mm-hmm. but you are like, I would regard you, we've had a lot of conversations over the years about super high level things, and especially mentality behind things. If there's some of the people you see being super successful, especially in the app building world and all of that, like you've found a niche, you're a competitor in it, so you know from the competitor side and the running the show side, you have all of the knowledge, and you're totally smart enough to, like, if something does come up, like those little kinks, to know how to fix that and make it even better. And you're going to always be striving to improve it, even if it is good. If it's at 90%, you're always going to want to make it 100.
Right.
That's just the way that you think. So if you just pivot that, I feel like you would take over in a year.
That'd be awesome. And it would allow me to be around something I like to do. Yeah. I've got the product. I just gotta, like I said, I gotta lift it off the ground. I haven't been putting my best foot forward on it, but I have been working on it, you know, slowly.
Well, we'll work on getting you some good video promo and stuff like that you can push out, and like even locally, like you're in the forums and stuff. I mean, from everything I've known about you, I figured you keep up to date, even if you're not physically in the competition. You're probably looking up the different things about it and all that stuff. So
I'm on all the time.
So you can have those connections to people that are running the events and all of that. So you got everything, all the networks built out for you.
Yeah. You
just gotta like make the path.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about like me trying to do this path. There's people that's done it clearly.
Yep.
Done YouTube videos, been successful, been photographers, been successful. But like making your own path and finding your own voice and like your own solution to that problem, that's like the hardest thing, because there's no blueprint. There's a blueprint to lifting weights or like best practices, you know,
right.
Like you can eat this certain way and it does this to your body.
Right.
The hardest thing about stuff like this is that there is no blueprint and you have to like figure it out. But that also, for people that are ultra competitive, and I would put myself in the same category. Yeah. It like unlocks a new, well, what if I did this? Then this person might see it, you know. So it's like a new challenge if you see it in a different view. You're not physically competing against someone, but you are mentally competing.
Right. Yeah, that's enticing. I'm not socially aggressive. If I don't know of a better term, but you know, I worked for Verizon for 3 years, and the part I hated about that job was trying to talk someone into doing something. You know, they're sales driven. You're trying to, you know, sell them something extra. They came in there to get an upgrade on a phone. Well, and you also should maybe buy more data for your plan or get this speaker to go with your phone, you know. But
you, in this regard, you're not trying to sell them something that you don't believe in, for one.
That's true.
Also, you know that it solves the problem that everyone who runs tournaments has. So you are helping them. You're not trying to serve them up something for Verizon, you know. Like you're not upselling them. You're helping them.
Right. No, that would be better, you know, because like you said, I believe in the product. And I know that it's better. I know that it works, you know. So that would be easier.
Well, that's through marketing or otherwise you reach those people. Like with ads, you can, I'm sure you've looked into it a little bit.
A little bit, but with ads, a lot of it's beyond me.
You can target age ranges. You can target people who have clicked on arm wrestling sites. Like that's even through Facebook. Like you can target genders, age ranges, location within a radius of a certain mileage. Like you can target specific people. So if, say we made a video and you talk about and we show why this is the no-brainer option for anyone running a competition, an arm wrestling competition in the United States, then you target those people and they see it. It would be stupid of them not to do it. And at 50 cents a competitor, I'm sure they get more than that.
Yeah, 25
per entry,
like 40 to 50 bucks sometimes.
Yeah, so they're not losing money on it, and it's clearing up their whole entire schedule that they're not spending those 6 hours filling out manually or hiring 3 people to help with paperwork. where they could have one person dedicated to this. They learn how to run armbracket.com and they're set. Takes all the headache, all of the stuff away.
Yep.
But you show them that through the marketing, through a video, through something, and then they see you are an experienced person who's behind it. That also lends the credibility. And if someone, I think there's a statistic that's like, if someone, either a family member or a friend or someone respects or holds in high regard, that's how, like we originally started talking, where the affiliate marketing.
Oh yeah.
That's how affiliate marketing works. Is that you see someone who you watch on YouTube and you're connected to them, and they are saying, "Hey, this shirt is really cool, blah blah blah, from this company." You're more like 70 to 80% more likely to do it because there's a person you trust who suggested it to you.
Yep.
So you've built up the competitive side. People respect you in the space. They know you. They know you're not just going to like, do something. And learning that you built it from the ground up also, I think I would bet you money that within like a year, if you went full on into this, you would be making a living off of it.
Or a very good supplemental income.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. It's just doing it.
Yeah. I'll help you as much as I can.
I want to. I really do. I mean, I've invested a lot of time and money into it, so and not a ton, but enough where I need to get it back at least. You know, my whole thing when I was building this was, for one, I was just pretty sure I'm like, it's gonna work. As long as I can get the product to do what I need it to do, it's gonna work. So that was my, when I'm forking over a couple $1,000s to get it off the ground, building wise, I kept on saying I'll at least make my money back. At least, the goal is to do more than that. But, that was why I wasn't super scared to build it in the first place. Yeah. And then I've even had thoughts of, if I don't want to mess with it anymore, like I said, it's getting so popular that I could see me selling it to a company, and I've always thought, if I ever wanted to do something like that, like you can have it, this arm wrestling promotion company, I'll sell it to you, you can own it. I just want rights to use it for free for the rest of my life.
But if you if you do the work and build that up, then you can sell it for more too. Yeah. Not that, like, I feel like there's a difference if you make a business to sell it, or if you make a business because it's something you actually believe in, which clearly you do. Yep. And then that value skyrockets because people will see your conviction of it, and then they'll see the work that you put in, and then it will become I have like no doubt in my mind, if you did this, it would become like the household thing. All 20,000 of that arm wrestling community would know it and be clicking on that every day to check the rankings, rather than all these random forums and all that stuff. That could become the place.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That is the goal. Especially just, there's a tournament going on that day. Who's winning? Yeah. Because I don't want to get into too specifics, but on the brackets that Arm Bracket produces, while you're generating the tournament, it gives you the option. Hey, do you have a YouTube live link for the tournament? If so, paste it here, and then on those brackets when they're live, there's a stream link, and if they want to not see the brackets, but they want to see the people actually arm wrestling live, they just click on the link and it goes straight to YouTube or whatever it's live on.
So you're taking all of the complicatedness out of it,
yeah,
and you're streamlining everything. Yeah, it just adds to the value and adds to how much of a good product it actually is.
Right. Yeah, that stream link I thought was super cool, and it was super simple. Just basically build a button on the brackets that says live stream, and it doesn't show up unless there is a live stream. So it's not like that button's there and it doesn't work. Yeah. It only shows up if it's there.
Yeah. See, I feel like in a year or two, we can look back on this conversation, and you'll be like, "Yep."
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I would bet money on it. Do you have a plan to make that full time, or like a full thing? Have you ever thought about even, if so, like having a goal like that?
Yeah, having a goal, but no, I don't think I would even want to make it full time. But I really like what I do. Yeah. I like, I'm not a travel kind of guy. Like I will travel, for fun, but some people are just geared to do that kind of stuff, like travel here and do that, travel here and do that, and I'm just not wired that way. I wouldn't call myself lazy, but I'm a homebody, like I like being home.
Well, you've built up a routine.
Yeah.
Super routine, like with the powerlifting, bodybuilding stuff, you have to have a routine for that. Yeah. So that's like ingrained in your genes at this point.
Right. And a lot of it, I think, is genetic, and both my parents are that way, and it's just how I saw life.
Yeah.
But I like being home, and I do like going to do what I want to do, like I like going to tournaments and stuff. But I don't think I'd be a happy person if I was on the road every weekend or,
So let's go. We've did the timeline up until now with the armbracket.com. You're still competing in arm wrestling?
Yeah.
Trying to compete left-handed?
Yeah.
Are you doing some right, or is that just like out of the question?
Currently, no, I can't. I had wrist surgery, and now I've hurt my bicep January 6th this year, and I'm waiting to see if that's going to heal on its own or if I'm going to need surgery, and I'm waiting. So right now I couldn't arm wrestle on it if I wanted to. So my plans are to do a tournament, an awesome tournament in St. Louis in July. It's called oh goodness, I can't remember, but Strongest Badge is the name of the tournament. It'll be like the 6th one. It's like an annual tournament. They didn't have it last year because funding, I think, but they brought it back this year. I think it'll be Strongest Badge 6 or 7. But the theme of that tournament, other than he makes it like luxurious arm wrestling. He rents this hotel, not rents it, but it's at this hotel that's super. It's called the Lou or something in St. Louis. It's super nice hotel. Weigh-ins are on the rooftop. It's really cool. Nice. Yeah. And then the tournament is in this really cool spot, and I think it's next to the hotel, maybe like a bar and grill. And then he rents the bar and grill out the rest of the night after the tournament to after pool, which is a lot of people love after pools at a tournament. Basically, after the tournament's over, but all the arm wrestlers that never get to see each other because they don't live close to each other, they just practice after the tournament together. Yeah. A lot of times I don't do it because my arms are wore out by then. But my goal was to try to bring my right hand back for that mat or for that tournament, and so that might still be on the radar. Nonetheless, I'm gonna do it probably left-handed and see what I can do there. But that was my goal, to bring it back for that tournament. Yeah.
How extensive are the injuries?
So,
and how long do you expect to take it to know if you need surgery or not?
I'm hopefully going to figure that out this week, because a lot of times these kind of injuries are very time sensitive. If you don't get it fixed fast enough, there's no fixing it, or they'd have to take a piece of your hamstring to fix your arm and all the crazy stuff. I'm a really unorthodox arm wrestler, so I'm what they call side pressure arm wrestler, I guess, but I don't have a ton of technique. I have a very, very, very small hand. Like Jen and I have the same size hand. Which is bad for arm wrestling. Yeah. But I'm very strong sideways. So on a table, I can go straight sideways, which is how you pin them. Yeah. Very, very strong at it. Yeah. I don't top roll people, which is wrist control. I don't put them in a hook for bicep. I can just go straight sideways and not do technique at all. Yeah. Well, it's led me to a bunch of unheard of injuries. Mm-hmm. I snapped 2 tendons in this arm. And snapping my palmaris longus, which, I don't know if you can see that, but that tendon there that everyone has, not everyone, most people have that tendon. Not everyone's born with it. I don't have that anymore in my right hand. It's gone. So I was at a tournament this summer in June, and I was dealing with a wrist injury, and I won the tournament. But the guy that hurt my wrist initially was there, and he was in the finals with me, and I know it was a really hard match, but I won. And the next day I started seeing the bruising and blood down here. I didn't think anything of it. My hamstring, if I ever try to hit full speed, I tear it all the time. I don't hit full speed often because of that. it always has blood spots and they go away and I'm good. I mean, it's a recurring injury. So there is probably something wrong with it. But anyway, I just noticed after that tournament in practice here in Lebanon, I hold practice at my house on Fridays. People that were so easy for me were not easy anymore. I'm like, what's going on? And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, it's my wrist. It's like something's wrong with my wrist. And I had been having an injury, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I'm like, something's different. Well, I'm like reading about my symptoms like 4 weeks after that tournament. So it had been like July. And I'm like keeping myself up at night because I'm like, something's not right. And it was just driving me crazy. And I was putting my symptoms on Google and Facebook, anywhere I could. And all of a sudden, I don't remember what I read, but it was like, flex your hand and see if you have these bumps. And I was like, I've always had them. I was like, in the middle of the night, I was like, oh man, like I get the flashlight out because I'm in my room in the dark. Yeah. And I'm like, they're not there. I'm like those blood spots, it's all start clicking. I'm like, they detached, So then it was like, if this happens, you have 3 to 6 weeks to get it fixed. So then I go see a surgeon, or I go see a doctor, but I'm trying to find a doctor my insurance would cover. And, I find a sports doctor in Springfield, and he agrees. He's like, yeah, you need to get this looked at quick by a hand surgeon. And then I find a hand surgeon, and he's like, oh, you just tore your palmaris. Well, that one I showed you, the very prominent one. Yeah. He's like, you don't need it. He's like, in fact, he goes, like 10% of the population doesn't have it when they're born. You should be almost just as strong. I mean, it might account for a little bit of strength, but not much. And I was like, well, I need every bit I can get. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I need all of it. Yeah. But he's like, well, there's nothing you can do. You're fine. Well, I come 4 weeks, probably 4 weeks after that, I email that doctor. And I'm like, hey, my strength's not coming back. I was like, do you think when it ruptured, do you think it landed somewhere and it's getting in the way of the other muscles? And he's like, probably, which is kind of nice to hear a doctor agree with what you're saying. Yeah. So I come in and he goes, we'll do surgery on it. He goes, not time sensitive because we're just cutting it out. It's a stump. They call it a stump when it retracts and just sits there. It's like, we'll just go cut the stump. Well, December of this year comes around, surgery to get that thing out. And I'm excited because I'm like, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I think something bigger, the MRI didn't catch. I go into surgery and I come out and I don't see the doctor. A nurse wheels me back to my room and my wife's sitting there, Jen, and she looks sad and she said, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, sorry about what? She's like, you were right. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, did the doctor not tell you? I'm like, no. What are you talking about? She goes, the other tendon you were worried about that does matter wasn't there either. I was like, you're kidding. She's like, no. I was like, I want to hear this from the doctor. So I asked the nurse that was in there. I was like, is the doctor coming back? She's like, no. I was like, I want to talk to him. He comes in there, and honestly, I felt like maybe he was just busy, or he wouldn't like me in the eye. But I was like, so what's going on? He goes, you have like less than 40% of that FCR tendon so you're never going to be as strong as you used to be. I was like, well, can we do stem cells? Can we, take a piece of my leg tendon out and reconstruct it? He's like, no. I was like, he goes, but the tendon that we originally planned on cutting out, he goes, it was in the way of some things, so I think you're going to get a little bit better. I was like, well, that's good. And I didn't blame him. Yeah. I still to this day don't blame it. I don't think the doctor purposely, sabotaged me or anything. Like, I think some people would be, I told people that story. They're like, I'd sue. And I'm like, it's a dumb thing to sue. I mean, it's not, it's that stuff happens. This is very complex in here. Like, your tendons in your hands are very complex. There's a lot of them. And
he probably also realized how much it meant to you. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you told him that you do arm wrestling and stuff. So he was like, this guy's not going to have that. It's hard to tell someone something like that.
I think that's why he
you
dodged
see
me.
Their dreams shatter, and you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one reason I didn't see him until I forced him to come tell me. Yeah. So I don't know. It seemed like I was kind of getting back to my old self, and then, you know, I hurt my biceps. So we'll see. Like I said,
one thing after the next.
Yeah. Well, and what I was gonna say is this is not normal injuries. You know, because I tell my work friends or my friends and mom and my grandma, and they all don't know arm wrestling, so they're just like, oh, the arm wrestling is a horrible sport, you know, like it's just asking for. I'm like, no, like I've put, you know, this injury here. If you Google it, no one in the history of like the medical research, like it's like so rare to tear that tendon, and arm wrestlers don't ever do it. The only way that tendon right here like disappears, like if medically speaking, is when someone cuts it, like with a sharp knife or a saw. But just for it to detach from using it is like it never happens ever.
Well, it's probably also from you having like the power that you have, that force against it that most people don't have. Right,
and so. Like I'm saying, my style is straight sideways, which is, in the arm wrestling community, that's like it's like raw. Like people are afraid of it because it's like, this guy doesn't have technique. He's just going to power my arm to the pad, you know. And it doesn't work on everybody. I've lost matches before, you know, but it works on a lot of people if you're good enough at it. And you know, there's a famous arm wrestler named Todd Hutchings, and he pulls kind of like I do, a little different, but he's the side pressure king. And people love to watch him. They love watching him. I think you would love watching him. He's just like this older bald guy, kind of buff looking, but you know, he puts in a mouthpiece before he goes on the table, and the person across from him knows like he's just going to go straight sideways, and I'm going to try to stop it. Yeah. And they have all this technique and hand control, and he wins, you know, 90% of his matches, if not more. And he only arm wrestles high level people. Yeah. You know. They call him the monster killer because he arm wrestles people twice his size and he beats them, you know. I'm kind of like that. I arm wrestle similar to him, but I don't think he's had all these injuries. Yeah. I think his tendons have held up better. I mean, I know he's had injuries. I think he popped his bicep on his peg holding hand when he was arm wrestling once. Like he had the peg so hard that he popped the bicep of what he wasn't arm wrestling with, which I've heard of happening before to people, but anyway, it's my unorthodox style that creates all these problems. So when people are like, arm wrestling's just a terrible sport, I'm like, no, it's just the way I'm built was.
Well, you've also put your body through, like you said, 14 years or more of just no time off.
Yeah, no time off. Yeah.
No, that's why I asked you kind of if you thought it was a good or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like in a mentality, the way you're wired, it's probably a good thing that you've kept up with lifting, and like that's almost like a release and routine for you.
Yeah.
But also, it's probably a little bit of a bad thing because your body has never essentially fully recovered from all those years of things, and you know.
Yeah, my back
built up over time.
Goes out once a year at least. Like I can't get out of bed sometimes. Like. And that's from I think that's from those powerlifting years though. I'm putting 600 pounds on my back and trying to squat and but my back legitimately, I'm 32 and my back once or twice a year will go out. And I mean when it goes out, like I was at work when it happened, I fell to the ground and no one was there. It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I had to wait until my coworker got there. And he came in and he's freaking out. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. Will you help me up? And I was like, just grab a table and slide it over here. And so I said, don't touch me. I just need a table just so I can inch my way up. But yeah.
You get you one of those little life alert things.
Yeah. I hate it. So that's the next thing I need to look at when I get time. Is I need to get my back fixed, or if it can be fixed.
So we've went through the whole overarching what you've done, how you've done it, and where you're going next,
right?
Or where you plan on going next. Let's do a couple little rapid fire things before wrapping up, and maybe help some people. Like mindset is a big thing with you that I know know your mindset could help a lot of people. Like you have sort of the creative, but also the smarts, and then the physical strength. You have the whole package that people sort of, I think, look up to you.
Right.
So the people that are maybe creative or have those little smarts, but they don't know what to do with it, how have you been able to find like your passion and like make that into your life, essentially?
I'll hit on something that kind of relates to that first. You know, a lot of times I'll hear people say parenting, for example, and I don't think there's. If anyone that's a parent should know that there's not one way to parent, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to parent, and I'm sure everyone's got opinions on what's right and what's wrong. And I personally, I look at my kids. You know, I've got a 3-year-old and I got a 10-year-old, girls, and I'm like, what are they good at? You know, and this goes in all aspects of life. We're not talking just athletics or sports or physical. I'm talking mental, everything. And because I wish I would have had this more as a kid. I wish my mom wouldn't have let me play basketball. That's what I'm getting at. And I don't force them, obviously. I push them in the direction that I know that they'll be very successful at. Yeah. So I would say basically I'm saying as a parent, I like to push my kids what they're good at. I'll let them do whatever, of course, if they're passionate about it. It's not my place to tell them they can't do that, they can't do this. But I think as a parent, I try to influence, you know, because like you'd be really good at this. Or, like my 10-year-old, I saw that she would be good at softball because she's been hitting a wiffle ball since she was 3, like I've never seen. Like she would just pick up the bat and she had it, you know, she could catch, she could throw, and she could swing. And so I pushed her into softball. I'm like, play softball. And she's doing amazing at it. Yeah. You know, I'm going to do the same with my kid, Joe. You know, she's looking like she's going to be really smart, you know. You're going to try to push her to do this or that, you know, maybe play chess as a kid, you know, just, you know, things, you know, you use your brain, and she's probably going to be athletic too, because Jen and I were, so odds are she probably will be. So I just don't know. But I would say just, you know, realize what you're good at and what you're built for. And then, you know, if you don't have a competitive drive, at least just try to, you know, participate in that kind of stuff, you know. Do what makes you happy, of course, but for me, what makes me happy is doing well at whatever I'm choosing to do. Yeah. You know, I don't play anything for leisure ever. Like, you know, it's really hard for me to, and this is some unusual, but it's really hard for me to, you know, like get together with people and just play cornhole for fun. Yeah. You know, like I can do it, and I do like cornhole. If I'm going to do anything just for fun, it would probably be something like cornhole. Like I enjoy it. But like when the family gets together and they want to play a board game on a holiday, like let's all play like Connect 4, I have no interest. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, you know, a lot of competitors, they'll be like, yeah, I'm going to be the best at this. And I'm like, I just don't have any interest in playing Connect 4 with you guys. You guys can do it. I'm going to go over here and read, you know, whatever. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, because I don't know.
I think what people could take out of that is leaning into your strengths. Yeah. And that's been a common thing throughout your whole life. Yeah. Is leaning into your strengths. But also having the self-awareness, like with basketball, to know that you're not going to the NBA with basketball. Yep. Probably. Like, the odds are definitely stacked against you in that regard. Yep. But you are strong as hell. Yep. So leaning into that, and then that can lead into bodybuilding, and then that maybe, you know, you can take one thing and that's one thing I think from my perspective is like, I didn't pick up a camera until I was in my mid-20s. Right. Like, if you asked me what I was going to do since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a musician or a recording engineer. Like, music was my thing. But music led to me picking up a camera to make YouTube videos about music. And then I started diving down the camera rabbit hole, and then that unlocks the whole thing. Yep. So like trying different things too, and like you got to try different things to figure out what you like
and so trying different things that kind of relate to what you're good at. You know, you started with music, and you've kind of niched your way into, video production and it sounds like maybe consulting in the future and things like that. But that's kind of what's got me to where I'm now. Just taking something I was good at and going to different tree branches from that.
Yeah. What is your favorite experience that you've had so far? That could be personal or professionally or both.
Probably my arm wrestling experience as a whole is my favorite thing I've had in life. My current job that I do, for the school, data analyst and data, admin, is up there too, because since I was a kid, I'd say 9 to 12, somewhere in there, I was a realist then. I knew I was probably not going to go pro in basketball. It was at that point in my life. It was the goal.
Yeah.
But I knew, luckily at that age. And my mom would always. I had an interest in tech since I was a kid. I loved being the guy, the kid that my family went to when they didn't know how to. When we got a new Xbox, no one knew how to hook it up.
Yeah.
Me and my brother did. Yeah. I didn't live with my brother at the time, so I did. And my mom, sometimes she didn't know how to lean into a little kid to fix that stuff.
Yeah.
Because she was like, no, I'll do it. And I would like look at it and I'm like, no, just let me do it. You're doing it wrong, And I just wanted to explore with it. So, and then she would talk about her IT guy at work, and I was fascinated by that. I'm like, what's he do? And she's like, he's the computer guy is what she would call him. I'm like, and he just fixes computers. And I loved fixing our computer. When our computer wouldn't do something, I loved fixing it. And not the hardware part. I could care less about hardware. I'm not really a hardware dude. Mm-hmm. It's when software doesn't jive. It's like when your computer throws an error.
Yeah.
Since I was little, I've had an interest in that. And Google was around in the 90s and the late 90s and early 2000s. Google was there, and I was using Google then to try to figure out why my computer was saying this problem. Yeah. And like you, and I'm not like you, but that led into me, in high school, I was also a competitive Halo player, mm-hmm. and I would make video montages of me playing Halo and put it on YouTube back then, of me kicking butt in Halo.
You were one of the original gamers on YouTube.
I was. I've got proof. I've got DVDs of me playing Halo somewhere at my mom's house, and I got that idea from the Halo community because there was other guys doing it that were better than me. Yeah. So I bought a video. What do they call that?
Video capture card, probably?
Capture card, yeah. It was a video capture card, and it had the RCA cables, the red, yellow, and I rigged that thing on my own to my $200 Dell desktop computer to my Xbox, and my friends thought it was crazy because I would, this is 2005. I was in high school, and my friends like Jake and everyone would come over, and in my room, I'd be playing Halo on my TV, and you could see like 3 seconds later on my computer that, lag, but it was recording me playing. And then I had this video editing software. I can't remember what it was called, but it's not around anymore because it's not like Adobe or anything like that. It was free. Came with my capture card. And I would, put music and clips and video transitions between clips and try to make it go along with the music. Yeah. Anyway, so I just always knew since I was a kid that I wanted to be a tech guy. Well, when I got in high school, I didn't take any of the tech classes, though. I was taking all the hard math classes because I thought I was going to be an engineer. I'm glad I took all those math classes because it gave me a lot of critical thinking skills. Yeah. But I was always thinking, I should have took those hardware. But in high school at that time, it was the computer classes were like hardware. They weren't really software or anything like that. But computer hardware is kind of a dead end street in the IT world. Like anyone can do it, put together this and that and it works, so I'm doing what I love now is what I'm getting at. Yeah. I'm working with software and data, and I'm trying to make things go in here, import in here, and export out here. And so we can see, this is what we need to improve on, or this is, the numbers for this,
That even more reinforces the whole armbracket.com thing.
Yeah.
Like That is that world.
Yep.
And you can use that, or even use that and make it successful, and use that success to start another thing. Or like, I could see you being like the brains behind multiple different things, different fields or.
Yeah, and in that field, there's a lot to it. I can't, like I told you, I hired a team because I couldn't do it all. Like I don't know how to do all that. Like I know how to do some of it, but that's such a broad, coding's huge. I'm not a coder, and I needed someone that knew code. I knew basics, and I designed it, and I had an idea. I knew this was possible. I wrote the blueprint for it. Like I still had the blueprints. I saved them. Yeah. This is what the program needs to look like. This is what it needs to do. And I did some of the work, but the harder stuff is what I would call it. I had to hire out. Yeah.
Last thing before we wrap up.
Okay.
What is something you would like to do that you haven't been able to do yet?
I feel like this should be easy. A few things. I mean, nerdy things. Okay, cliche answer, I guess. Travel. I want to travel more. And I told everyone earlier, I don't like traveling. I do like traveling. It's just, how some people thrive in like business every week, flying here, and that would not be me. But, vacationing.
Traveling for experiences.
Yeah, like going to super scenic places. I love the beach. I've only been there maybe 3 times in my life, but I love it. And especially those, the Gulf side of like Florida. I don't know if you've been like the pretty, Destin area there, but I love that. Like, it's like my favorite thing to do is sit out in the sun in a pool. It's my favorite thing to do. I do it every summer at the lake. Yeah. And then I want to go to a chess tournament. I want to try to get as good at chess as I can. But earlier we were talking about ceilings, right? Well, my ceiling in arm wrestling is like the sky's the limit. My ceiling in chess is, I'm never going to be high level. Yeah. I think I could be way better than average. I'm better than average now, but I would like to go to a chess tournament and see how well I can do it.
I saw a video of a guy yesterday. I don't know what his name is, Magnus or something.
Yeah, he's the best.
He had a blindfold on, so he didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And they had people with 3 different chess boards.
Yep.
And he was playing all 3 games blindfolded and beat every one of the people. And they were doing like this board, then this board, then this board.
Yep.
All at the same time.
So they would just tell him,
he would
bishop
say,
to h4 or something like that. Yeah.
And he beat all 3 of them. I was like, I don't know anything about chess, but that seems impressive.
He's been in the best in the world for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. He was amazing as a child, but I think he's from Norway. Right now he's still good, but it seems like people are catching him. That's what I'm saying. Ceiling, I could play for the next 30 years every day, every hour, and I would never get that good. Everyone's got a ceiling and stuff.
Yeah. But chess, from what I understand, is like super high level thinking, like thinking moves way ahead of time. So that probably helps you also.
It makes me in awe of people like him and the thousands of people that are below him that I wouldn't consider like much below him, because there's a lot of them. Yeah. Because, dude, like, that's impressive what they can do.
Then you see like a random 9-year-old and he's doing all this stuff.
Well, that was him back then, though. Yeah, but there's some up and comers like that now. I like to keep up a little bit with it. I've always, and since 5th grade, I've always had an interest in chess, and I just recently picked it up because
always looking for the new challenge.
Well, I got my master's degree.
Yeah.
In I guess May, so it's been almost a year.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you. And so I had some time to fill, and I chose to. Yeah. I was either going to start reading more or start playing chess more, and I chose that. And I want to read more, but you know the reason I don't read is because literally after work, if I lay down or sit down, but I prefer probably to lay down and read, I will fall asleep.
Yeah.
And I don't know how these people that read all the time do it. Because I know they have jobs, and I'm like, how do you guys read? And cause it literally will put me to sleep. And I like to read, but I'm more of a morning reader, but I'm not going to wake up that early to read.
Yeah.
But like people that read after work, like I can't do it. I have to if I lay down and get sedentary after work, I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty up and about till about 8 o'clock, and then we sit down and watch something. But
what is your, and this is, I wasn't even going to ask this, but like what's your guys' fitness looking like now?
Yeah.
Like I know you have the home gym.
Yeah, we still have the home gym.
Is that like a couple nights a week you guys are going out there and like lifting weights, or is that like every night after work you do that and then you go inside? Or
Yeah, so it's very routine. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and then Friday nights I arm wrestle. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, as soon as I get home from work, so like 4:15, I change and I go out to the garage. If it's really cold, right when I get home, I turn on the heater, then go in and change, come out to the garage, and I work out for about 30 to 45 minutes. Usually about 30, not very long. I don't do near as many exercises. I just do the basics. So Monday I would do legs, and then Tuesday I do back and arm wrestling exercises, and then Thursday I do chest and shoulders together. And then Fridays I have arm wrestling practice at night with a group, and then Saturdays, if I'm not super sore, I go out there and I do more arm wrestling exercises.
Nice.
Whenever I want, like in the morning, afternoon, at night, whenever is convenient on the weekend. But it's very structured during the week. Like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm in the garage at 4:15 and I'm working out, and I don't miss a beat.
That's really impressive that you've stuck with that like over half your life now.
Yeah, I just don't know how. And I don't enjoy it much anymore.
Yeah,
I really don't. I don't. But I would. If I didn't do it, I think I would be miserable. Like, it's kind of a part of me, I guess. You know, like, it's not that I don't look forward to it. Most of the time I don't want to go out there. I really don't. I'll tell Jen, and I will say it all the time when we're getting dressed to go out there to work out. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I just do it anyway, because if I don't do it, the feeling I get is worse than doing it.
Yeah.
You know, the feeling of not doing it is worse than the feeling of doing it. Yeah. You know, I'll regret it, and then like, I'm going downhill. You know, I want to keep it up as long as I can. Yeah. You know, I don't want, you know, it's maybe, I can't think of a word, vain or something, but I don't want people to look at me when I'm 40 and be like, man, he used to be in shape. He's not anymore. You know, like, I don't want people to think that, and I don't want to think that about me. You know.
That's where this past year I kind of fell off quite a bit from what I was, and like, that's one thing this year I've been like, I put our treadmill in our living room. Yep. And I'm like, no matter what, like, at least a couple times a week, I need to be doing something, no matter how busy I get. Like, you got 30 minutes to an hour a couple times a week, no matter how busy you are. So I need to stop making that, like, letting that be an excuse for myself. But I definitely want to get back, like, closer to where I was. I was like, at one time when I was doing that, I was like 220 pounds and like jacked. Yep. And then I went down to like 180 and just like, I was like shredded, kind of
fit. Yeah.
But not like stage shredded.
Right.
But
no. Yeah. You were lean for yourself. Yeah.
And then I'm like, I started the business and went like all in with that. So that took a back burner for me. Yep. So I like, one of my goals this year is to get that back in and like find that routine. That's what I was asking you, what your fitness routine is like now. You have that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, every single day. You know you're doing it regardless. Yep. I need to do something like that, I think. Yeah, and then I've told a few people this before, but they're like, well, what's your food like? Well, from like, I don't know, October, even September, just depending on what's going on, till January, I don't diet at all. Like, I don't try to eat. I don't watch what I eat, period. I eat what I want when I want. Well, then when January comes around, I start cleaning it up. So, like, right now we eat a lot of the same things every week, and it's, you know, chicken and rice, or ground beef, you know, with, you know, pasta sauce and vegetables, and, you know, it's not as bad as it used to be on bodybuilding, but and then I just make subtle changes. Like, I don't get seconds at dinner right now, and what that does, and then as soon if it's on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, and it's warm out,
I walk immediately after the workout fast around the block like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but only when it's warm out. I don't do cardio unless it's warm out. Like it works for me. And by the time May or June hits, I don't look like I did in January anymore because I've made those subtle commitments of change. You know, if it's warm out, I'm walking. I've also not been getting seconds at dinner. I've also been eating certain things. On weekends, I'm more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
But I found a system since I've been arm wrestling, I found a system that works, you know, for what I want, which is basically I want to look a little trimmer in the summer. I don't care if I would huskier by the time the holidays hit, you know, November, December, and January. So I just found something that works, and I get on the scale, and I know if I'm 205 pounds in the summer, I've done it right. And then by December, I'm 220. That's fine. You know, it's a 15-pound fluctuation, but it really works for me. And the one thing that doesn't change throughout the whole year is I'm in the gym, you know, just food choices and cardio enter about January, and I keep them up until August.
I feel like we could do a whole hour-long episode just talking about the fitness side of things and help people like that regard.
Yeah. You know, I feel like I have good genetics, so that kind of subtle stuff works for me, you know, but and I think it works for everybody, but we could do a show just on how I've learned how to do it in a way that's not miserable, you know, but you're not going to get extreme results doing it my way either. You know, you're not going to be like super fit looking or super jacked.
Do you do any coaching still?
No, I would get asked to sometimes. I always say no. I don't enjoy it. I hate coaching people. I don't care to work out with somebody, you know. I don't feel like checking in and seeing if they're eating correctly and listening. I did it for a while, and some people were, you know, fun to coach, but very few. Yeah, I liked training people for bodybuilding shows because they were all in, you know.
Yeah. I think that would be something with your mindset that if someone's not as dedicated as you, it's really hard to help them.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I would be doing exactly this.
Yeah.
You know, and if they deviate from it, you're like,
yeah.
Well, what's the point of me making you a plan if you're not going to follow it?
Yeah. See, and I was trying to coach just anybody and everybody, and you know, they would be like, I followed your plan, and then, you know, Saturday came and the birthday, and I just ate, you know, all the excuses flood in. Yeah. And, you know, I didn't like dealing with that because you paid me, and now I feel bad because you didn't get results, but it's not my fault, I guess. And then you're upset because you didn't get results, but then now the truth comes out, and this is why. Yeah. I hated it.
So you're not looking to get back into coaching?
No, not at all. I will give advice and free advice as long as it's not.
We might have to do if you're open to it, do another episode down the line of fitness tips. Like, I feel like people would, especially like in our local area, you're well known. Mm-hmm. People know you're the guy, the fitness guy. Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like people could take some good stuff off of that.
Yeah,
we'll do that. Down the line.
Yeah, it would be. I would hit on how to do it. You know, subtle. You know, it didn't have to be drastic. You know, and I don't know. It's easy for me. I have a routine, like you said. And at this time of the year, I'm doing this. This time of the year, I'm doing this. This time of the year, I'm doing this, and I just do it every time.
Well, thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing your whole story.
Man, this was fun. I liked it.
Thanks for being the catalyst for me also.
Yeah.
Like, you probably don't understand how much I've always looked back on that. Like, we kind of, after you did your show and we stopped filming, I kind of went off and did the business. Yeah. So we didn't keep it as close of contact. But like, every time anyone says anything, I'm like, Drew Bishop. This is how I got started.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Like,
Jen, I appreciate it.
Well, like, Jen and I always wanted to see you take off, dude. Yeah. We always did.
But you were like one of the first people though that like I saw your drive and like your competitiveness and like I resonated with that because that's always been me. Yeah. And I'm like, if he could do that, like apply everything and be super successful in any realm you tried, I was like, surely I can. You know, I got the smarts and the ability. I can just lean into that and do this. And you were like, cheering me on the whole time. And all the people that like cheer you on wherever you are shit,
Or what?
Or
help drive you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's always been a major thing for me. So I appreciate it a lot. And Jen as well. Hopefully you're watching this, Jen.
Yeah, she will. She's already told me she's going
to. Thank you.
And
yeah. The whole family, I'm glad to see you guys being successful, and her being in the school system and you being in the school system, and the kids succeeding, and the softball things, and all of it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
That's the end of this episode, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.